For generations, African Americans have asked one question in silence: why are we so hated? Why does the world fear our strength, our rhythm, our brilliance, our God given light? This question didn't come from nowhere. It came from centuries of struggle, survival, and a deep spiritual intuition that our story is older than the ships that brought us here. As many of us grow and awaken, we begin to feel something stirring inside, a pull toward identity, a whisper that says, you come from somewhere sacred, you come from royalty, you come from a people chosen for greatness. Some believe that African Americans carry the spirit, the history, and the resilience associated with the ancient tribe of Judah, the tribe known for its warriors, its singers, its kings, and its unbreakable connection to God. We're not to debate history. We're here to honor the feeling of finally seeing ourselves through a lens of dignity, heritage, and purpose.
That's how I'm here to profess. Black people, you are Israelites. You are the chosen ones. You are a prestigious people. Your history is in the Bible.
And so many people are blinded to the scriptures, blinded to historical truth, and they're led by their heartstrings, but it's not actually fact. One of those things, again, that people have been led for so many years is thinking that the Ashkenazi are in fact descendants of Shem, and we've discovered that the Ashkenazi are in fact the synagogue of Satan. They're the descendants of Japheth. They're Turkic Mongols from the Khazarian region that converted to Judaism in the 6th and 7th century. These are the things that we've discovered over the past few months. Those teachings came across in exposing the rotting stick of Israel and the synagogue of Satan that are in our archives.
Let me explain how America was a 400-year punishment for African Americans for their ancestors handing Jesus over to be crucified. African Americans are really the tribe of Judah. And when Jesus was crucified, they were the only tribe left in Israel. The other 11 tribes have been scattered by the Syrians and Babylonians. And this is why the Greeks started calling them Jews, short for Judah. So when Jesus was born, he's born to the tribe of Judah, today known as African Americans. African Americans are the direct blood relatives of Jesus. And they're the ones that handed Jesus over to the Gentiles and said, he's not the Son of God. So God said to African Americans' forefathers, I'm gonna hang your sons over to the Gentiles and say, you're not my people. African Americans' forefathers, they handed Jesus over to the white man to be whipped, stripped, humiliated, tortured, forced to carry the cross hung from a tree. So God said to African Americans' forefathers, I'm gonna hand your sons over to the white man to be whipped, stripped, humiliated, tortured, forced to carry things and hung from trees. This 400-year punishment will be the fourth beast from the book of Daniel that would subjugate Israel. The first being Egypt, Assyria, Babylon. This fourth beast would be the longest and the hardest. This 400-year punishment is what God said to Abraham in Genesis 15:13, where he says, Abraham, know for certain that your descendants will be strangers in a country not their own, where they worship wood and stone, and they'll be slaved and mistreated for 400 years. So he said they'll be in America where there will be Christian and Muslim, and they'll be enslaved and mistreated for 400 years. The first slaves came to America 1619 in Jamestown, Virginia. 2019 is 400 years. He said, then I'm going to punish the nation they served as slaves. That's 2020. He said, then I'm going to bring them out with great possessions. So the curse that was on African Americans is now on the Gentiles. And that's why things haven't been the same since 2020. But getting back to when after African Americans' forefathers, the tribe of Judah, handed Jesus over, 40 years later, Rome destroyed Jerusalem in 70 AD. And African Americans, the tribe of Judah, escaped into Africa. Now, Lot had escaped into the Middle East, or had been living in the Middle East. Well, God then raised the Muslim conquest to push him out of the Middle East and get him into Africa. Some had escaped into Europe, had been living in Europe, and been enslaved in Europe. Well, God then, the Muslim conquest was 700, 600 AD. Well, then the Catholic was 1200 AD. So about 600 years later, God used the Catholic Church to push African Americans, tribe of Judah, out of Europe and Spain and get them into Africa. And once he got us all into Africa, he then had the Arabs, the Africans, who are Gentiles, and the Arabs, the Africans, and the Khazarians, the ones claiming to be Jews today, They were running the slave trade, or the land transatlantic slave trade. They owned the slave ships and stuff eventually, but they had us all. Once God had us rounded up in Africa, then He had the Gentiles sell us into slavery. And once we got to America, African Americans got to America. That's when our 400 years begun. The 400-year punishment is all broken down in Deuteronomy 28. All the curses of Deuteronomy 28, what would happen to African Americans. Essentially, what God wanted to do was to make them a no people for making Him a no God. So African Americans' forefathers, starting out when Moses brought them out of Egypt, they kept coming in out of slavery, Egypt, Egyptian slavery, Syrian slavery, Babylonian slavery. He kept putting them under the Amalekites, the Philistines. All the Old Testaments about how He's trying to get His people to stop trying to be like the Gentiles, worship the Gentile gods. Because the Gentile gods, if you wanted to be gay, you worship the gay god. If you wanted to have revenge on your enemies, you sacrifice your child to this god. If you want to have orgies, you give your child to be a child prostitute in a temple to be a temple prostitute for this god. So you were giving up your children to be killed or molested to worship these gods so you can do all these sins. Instead of worshiping the one God you've seen with your own eyes, but He has all these rules. And every time you break the rules, you sin. You have to give a sin offering. You have to give one of your bulls, some of your money. Every time you sin, you're sinning all the time. Then they have festivals every year where you go then give more of your herds to God. So you had this God with all these rules you had to give money to all the time. But then you have these other gods who you can sin. All you have to do is do evil. So God would bring us in our slavery, in our slavery. And every time we go in slavery, we go in punishment, we would repent and we'd be humbled and we'd come back to Him. So finally God said, you know what? You're not accepting my word on paper. I'm going to put my word in flesh. And then we handed Him over. So that was the last straw for God. So God would create America to do all that we did to Him with all that to us. So we made Him a no God. He made us a no people. We didn't know we was Judah. We didn't know the book was about us the whole time. Just like we replaced Him with the fake gods. He replaced us with a fake people. We weren't Africans. Everything that we built, no matter how fast we run, because we still have the blessings. Judah still has the blessings that Abraham gave to Isaac, Isaac to Jacob, Jacob to Judah. That's why African Americans have all these abilities nobody has. They run the fastest, they jump the highest, they made all the music genres. Everything they touch turns to gold. When you're in the presence, it kind of pushed you back. If you notice, when you're in the presence of Africans, you're kind of like not on guard. But when you get in the presence of African Americans, something about them just push you. It's this blessing that they're fighting for in the book of Genesis. So God says you're still going to have because God doesn't take your blessings away, but He'll turn them into curses. God's not what they would call an Indian giver, which we shouldn't even say that, but He'll turn them into curses. So yes, you're still going to run the fastest, jump the highest, all those things, but you're going to be in the ghettos, you're going to be in the prisons, you're going to get the worst of everything. So just like we gave everything that was God's to the Gentiles, He was now going to give everything that was ours to the Gentiles. So yeah, you're still going to do those things, but everything you create is going to be stripped from you and given to the Gentiles. Everything that cities you establish, no matter what you do, is going to be stripped from you and given to the Gentiles. So God said to Israel, to Judah, now you're going to know how I feel. Just like you handed my son over, you sold my son into slavery, which 30 pieces of silver is the price of a slave. That's what we sold Jesus over. Everything you did to my son is going to be done to your sons. You're going to see how I feel. So now that curse is over, 1619, 2019, because the first slaves came here in 1619 in Jamestown, Virginia. 2019, our 400 years has been over. The curse that was on us is now on the Gentiles, and that's why you haven't seen things to be the same. It looks like they might come back, but they're not coming back. So you see all the Gentile nations fighting each other now, Pakistan and India and Ukraine and Russia and the fake Jews and the Arabs. Everything that's happening to us, you're starting to see happen to the Gentile nations. And that same curse that had us fighting us, now they're fighting. Earthquakes, tornadoes, volcanoes. God compares this time to a woman having a baby. So it comes in contractions to prepare the woman for the pain, to prepare the world for the great tribulation. And what's going to happen is everything's going to be stripped from the Gentiles now and given back to us. The other 11 tribes, who are the ones that built the pyramids, learned that from when they're in Egypt. Used to sacrifice their children, like the Aztecs and stuff, used to sacrifice their children to the false gods. Those are the tribes of Israel. That's what they learned to build. They say, oh, the aliens did it. How they all build pyramids? That's because they're the tribes of Israel. They've been scattered. Well, they're going to wake up to who they are. They're going to migrate to Judah, the tribe of Judah, African Americans. And we're going to lead them back to Jerusalem while the Gentile world comes to an end. There is no rapture. That's a Catholic lie. If the Gentiles want to be saved from the great tribulation, they must follow us back to Jerusalem. And if they won't accept African Americans as the tribe of Judah, then they're not going to accept their direct blood cousin when he comes out those clouds. So when Jesus comes out those clouds as African American, if you wouldn't accept us as his people, you're not going to accept an African American as your Messiah. So this is a test for the Gentiles. The test for the Gentiles in this new world is, would you rather be on top, on hell on earth where you are now, or be at the bottom on heaven on earth to come? That's a test for you. And most are not going to accept it. They're going to gather an army and come after us. We march back to Jerusalem. Jesus can move down and fight these armies himself. When we get to Israel, the entire world's going to be on fire. The only thing that's going to be untouched is Israel. So the Gentiles that will not accept this, them and their bloodlines will be wiped out. And when Jesus comes down with New Jerusalem, establish this New Jerusalem here on earth,
Whether you believe in the tribe of Judah connection literally, symbolically, spiritually, or historically, one thing is undeniable. African Americans are a people of strength, a people of purpose, a people with a story the world could not erase. And now we are finally reclaiming our narrative. This is the beginning of remembering who we are.